Call me unprofessional? Okay, good luck finding another instructor. I realized today there are not enough stories on here about teachers in MC. So as a teacher of 2 decades, I decided it was time to write out mine. First and foremost, this is a story about a toxic workplace. This could happen in any business in the world. It just happened to occur in a school. Many moons ago, back in the days of Ebola, my school was having a massive shift in priorities and focus. We were a rural school, so new principal assigned to the building, pupils being redistricted, mass retirements. Several people were being pushed out and run off by the incoming principal. A good number of people quit because of the toxic work environment. But I was not in a position to do so. At the time, I had a unique schedule. I taught mostly dual credit courses to juniors and seniors. But I also taught one course of students with SPED issues. The dual credit courses required a specific advanced degree as I was essentially teaching college credits in the high school. This detail will become essential later. At my school, we would be assigned support teachers to give additional help to students with SPED services. That support was not allowed to teach, but would typically share a classroom with the content teacher. I was usually unconcerned with who my assigned support was, as I'm a laid-back person who can work with just about anyone and I don't care about sharing a classroom. But there was one male support teacher who was not allowed in my room or near me in the hall. Ever. For the sake of this story, we'll refer to him as Harass. If ever a man knew how close he could get to sexual harassment without crossing the line, it was him. Heck, sometimes he even did cross the line. I made dozens of complaints, but nothing was ever done as I wasn't the target of his comments. He was very religious, carrying on all the time about how a woman's place was at home. So the school was clearly filled with loose women. He made this comment in the hall during transition. He also believed that if a woman was ever elected president, she would nuke the world the first time she had PMS. He told this to a class of freshmen. The school year in question, Harass was assigned to the most experienced teacher in the building. She was set to retire at the end of the year. Coupled with her no-nonsense attitude, the powers that be thought she could keep him in line. It took 3 weeks, and she threatened to quit if Harass was not moved out of her classroom. Fearful of losing another teacher at the start of a chaotic year, Harass was assigned to me as my support teacher. I found out when he walked into my room, announced that we could be buddies now, and made a crude joke about how he could domesticate me now. I immediately left the school, sick, and called my principal about the matter. He informed me, in no uncertain terms, that I could not refuse to work with someone just because that person made me uncomfortable. I reminded him of the previous complaints I had made. He snapped at me a bit, telling me he could not believe what an unprofessional child I was being. I was told to come up with a legitimate reason Harass shouldn't be in my class or shut my mouth and make it work. After hanging up the phone, the malicious compliance began. You see, I did have a legitimate reason. Because of a health issue I have had for my entire life. Enduring extended periods of stress and anxiety can kill me. I even carry medicine with me to lower my heart rate, just in case. Step 1 was to call my doctor, who brought me in the very next day after I explained what was going on. She took my blood pressure, faxed a medical letter to my school immediately, and signed me out of work for 6 weeks. Since I had 6 weeks of leave earned at this point, step 2 was to literally stop doing anything. Usually, when a teacher goes out, lessons are pulled from other members of the school who teach the same content. Unfortunately for them, I was the only person in my building teaching dual credit. A few phone calls by my principal to the surround schools taught him what I already knew. I was the only person teaching these courses out of 11 high schools. There were no lessons to be found. I'm not sure what they gave my students to do during that time. But it surely wasn't the correct work. Step 3 was to let 2 or 3 of the parents know what was going on. I never directly told them, but a friend of a cousin of a neighbor might have heard about my health issues and passed the information along. Here's the point in the story when you think I'm about to tell you I enjoyed my 6-week paid vacation and went back to work. Right? Oh no. The malicious compliance continues. A week before I am scheduled to return to work, my principal calls me up. Standard well wishes about my health are extended, after which he says that he hopes the weeks away from the building have cleared my mind and helps me realize how hysterical I was acting. He continued by telling me that regardless of my feelings, I would continue to have harass as a support teacher. I asked him if he was ready to lose a teacher over this, and he laughed and hung up. Knowing that this was probably going to happen, I already had a doctor's appointment set up for phase 2. Because my health issue is explicitly and clearly covered by the ADA, my doctor issued me reasonable accommodation paperwork to give HR. Essentially, I was to be allowed to teach in the least stressful environment possible, as determined by myself and my supervisor, along with a doctor's note restricting me to teaching duties that could be performed at home because of the excessive stress currently in the building. Like I said, we are in the year of Ebola, so virtual learning was unheard of in most places. I checked with a lawyer to make sure my contract was airtight. It was. And I delivered the paperwork to the head of HR, whose child I taught. I also contacted my college supervisor, whose child I taught, to inform her that as of Monday, I would have been absent for more than 20% of the seat time for my courses, thus rendering those credits invalid. Over the weeks, she had pieced together what was going on, despite the school refusing to communicate any information with her, and she was furious. She may have told other parents what was going on, which resulted in dozens of calls to the school within a few days. By Monday, my accommodations were approved. I was allowed to teach my classes virtually from my home to save the embarrassment of canceling dual credit courses. And I rode out the year at home before transferring districts at the end of the year. I never spoke to or saw harass again. I was hoping you was going to say that he was let go at the end of the school year. Did you ever find out what harass had on the principal? Did they ever find anyone else for the dual credit courses? This was glorious! Exclamation mark! 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 That's epic. You may not have straightened out your principal's attitude, but you definitely bludgeoned him into the ground. Awesome MC. But I'm struggling to understand how that awful situation can continue for so long. I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that this is said in America. Do you guys not have unions? Regulatory bodies? Strict safeguarding guidelines? I'm a teacher in the UK, and a fraction of her principal's behavior would have got the school metaphorically burned to the ground by Ofsted. Regulatory body. One complaint of sexual harassment goes nowhere. Union issue and black mark for Ofsted. Multiple complaints ignored. Union taking legal action against the school. Ofsted show up for surprise inspection. Results of Ofsted can get principal and/or problematic staff fired. Inappropriate response to medical condition, concerns of staff. Union issue. Legal action. Ofsted. Staff member frequently reported making inappropriate comments in front of children. Principal does nothing. Ofsted shuts the school down. Police issue. Principal fired and likely banned from teaching. Harass also fired and definitely banned from teaching. Potential criminal charges for both. I won't pretend there aren't UK schools with hostile work environments. But safeguarding children is taken incredibly seriously. Repeated inappropriate comments in front of students is a safeguarding risk. When I was in 5th grade, we had a creepy male teacher who would flip the girls' bras. All the other students and teachers and administrators knew, but no one would fire him. This was early 80s. Considering that your male principal accused you of being hysterical, I'm not surprised that they didn't pay any attention to your concerns. It's the boys' club. I mean, it sucks to be the kids who got shafted for those 6 weeks. Double malicious compliance. Harass said a woman's place is at home, so that's where you stayed. That was a thing of beauty to read. What are sen and sped? Geez. My workplace would have considered that enough harassment because it doesn't matter to them who the inappropriate remark is directed to. If it makes someone within earshot uncomfortable, it's reportable. I can't believe that teachers and students are disrespected this much. Even in the US. You hardly ever hear of a teacher W. Thanks for this. As a teacher who is having a hell of a bad semester. You are a gentleman and a scholar, and I wish I was like you. That's great. I feel bad for the students, though. Sorry. As a teacher, I think this was really shitty to do to your students just because you didn't like the aid. How unprofessional of them. Love to hear a winning story with maliciousness simply crammed to the tippity top.
Damn.
What in the hell?
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.